Live from the NJ.com studio comes the only weekly TV podcast you'll need, where a lofty critic squares off with an obsessed superfan on everything from highbrow drama to lowbrow reality. The cocktail shaker is ready. Prepare for your TV hangover. Now, your hosts, Vicki Hyman and Erin Medley.
Hello and welcome to TV Hangover. I am Erin Medley alongside Vicki Hyman.
Hey everybody.
This is our 25th episode or show, whatever you want to call it. Lucky number 25. That's very exciting.
It is exciting.
Of course, this is the TV Hangover Show podcast, and we're on Twitter at TV Hangover Show. I'm at E_meds, and Vicki is at Vicki High, VICKIHY. We also have an email address where we received an email this week.
Yes, we did, from our same correspondent. Love ya.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for reaching out. The email address is tvhangovershow@NJ.com. The suggestion this week was for Vicki to quiz me. I don't think we're going to have time, but we will get there one day.
We will, and I had a really good question for Walking Dead for you, which you were going to love, but I couldn't get it together this week. Sorry.
Ridiculous. The prep time for this show is like a couple hours, which is why it sounds so professional.
But I've been watching so much TV this week. I have been watching an inordinate amount of TV, including finishing the entire House of Cards, which we'll get to.
Yes. No, we'll get to that right now.
Oh, we'll get to that right now.
House of Cards premiered last Friday on Netflix.
Yes. And I was not a fan of season 3. I love season 1 and season 2. I thought season 3 was sort of like transition season from Frank becomes president. Now he's sort of ruling the country, not doing a really great job governing. Mm-hmm. And they are setting up season 4 where Claire and her political ambitions become, it basically dominates the season. And one of the issues I had with season 3 is that even though I can get behind Frank Underwood, like shoving reporters in front of trains and killing congressmen, and
spoiler alert.
This is from season 2.
So
we're talking.
Some people haven't watched. I haven't watched.
I didn't say which reporter. Anyway, I can sort of get behind that, but the political maneuverings just always felt kind of silly to me, including last season when he, makes a recess appointment against Claire, his wife, who has very little experience, except running a nonprofit, appointed the ambassador to the UN, which I just thought was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of have to swallow something similar to that in this season, but at that point I was like, okay, I'm just on board with it. Anything to see Robin Wright in her incredibly tailored wardrobe acting amazingly icy, I'll do it. And loved it.
Well, I have never watched House of Cards, which doesn't really matter because everyone spoils it anyway, just like you did. So I kind of know what's been happening through the seasons. And honestly, the only show about a president I'm interested in is Veep.
I'm so glad you didn't say Scandal.
No,
so glad.
No, that's terrible. No, Veep is my go-to Washington, D.C.
Granted, Veep is
show.
awesome.
It's amazing. I can't wait for it to come back, which should be soon.
It should be soon, and hopefully with Hugh Laurie.
Oh, I love Hugh Laurie.
Such a great addition last season.
I love him. He's like one of my favorite people on television ever. So, Vicki, the new Dancing with the Stars cast has been announced.
Yes, I was actually up at 7 o'clock in the morning because I didn't know when during Good Morning America it was going to be announced.
And they usually drag it out, don't they?
Well, it actually, they just announced it like 8:10, and then they had another segment towards the end. But like 7 to 8, I could have been sleeping.
Yeah. Now, this is not a show that you watch regularly.
I don't think I've ever watched a full episode of Dancing with the Stars.
Okay, so we're going to judge these people just based on your first impression. I want like immediate reaction.
I can't do it because they came out and doing like a little bit of dancing.
No, pretend like you've never seen that.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the name.
I saw things I cannot unsee.
I will give you the name. You give me the yay or nay. Super Bowl MVP Von Miller.
Yay.
And my response is who? UFC player Paige Van Zandt.
Yay.
And my response is newsman Geraldo Rivera.
Nay, very much a nay.
I agree with that nay. He was so irritating on The Celebrity Apprentice. Like, I never need to see him on another reality show.
But did they talk that much on Dancing with the Stars?
No, so it could be okay. Donald Trump's ex-wife / mistress, Marla Maples.
Yes, one-time mistress. Yay. I'm sure she's fine.
Really?
All right.
Yeah. All right.
She's in really good shape.
Oh, yes. Here, Facts of Life and Real Housewives of Atlanta star Kim Fields.
Yay!
Totally yay. You have to root for Tootie all the time. Boyz II Men singer Wanya Morris.
Yay?
I'm going to say yay because if you can sing, you have to have some sort of rhythm.
Do they have some sort of moves on stage?
No, Boyz II Men doesn't really dance.
Okay.
But if he starts singing, or if they bring out the other boys, although that would only leave 2 of them, so that could be a little weird, I'd be into it. Former NFL star Doug Flutie.
Nay. Oh my God, nay. It was like, I watched him out there and he was sort of like, I don't know, shaking his hips. I don't know. I did not want to see it.
Uh-huh.
It was, no.
America's Next Top Model winner, Niall DeMarco. He's deaf.
He is deaf, which should be interesting. Yay.
Okay.
Give me yay.
Sure. I mean, look, you got to feel the rhythm to get the moves down, but to count, you don't have to hear anything.
And you can sort of feel it through the dance floor, I think, a little bit, right?
Yeah, maybe. Music. Yeah, it's probably going to be extremely loud, and the vibrations will help. The OC actress, Misha Barton.
Well, she's got the sort of body type that makes me think she might have been a dancer at some point. I don't know. Yay.
If she's not drunk, allegedly.
Oh.
And Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown.
Yay.
I say who again. We got 2 more here. Fuller House actress Jodie Sweetin.
Yay. She seems like she's a lot of fun.
I think she's a lot of fun, and I've seen...
And her co-star did really well on it, didn't she? Candace Cameron Bure?
Bure.
Sorry.
Sorry. Candace Cameron Bure, Jodie
There's no
Sweetin,
accent.
And Andrea Barber.
Andrea
Barber. They put out a video before Fuller House came out where they were dancing, and now Jodie Sweetin looks like she has some rhythm. And finally, we have Good Morning America meteorologist Ginger Z.
Yay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Look, I'll say that overall, besides the sports people I don't know, I think this is a pretty good group.
It is. There wasn't any of these, like the Disney kids who show up.
Oh, that is a good point. There are no young people on this list.
Yeah. So, I actually knew who most of them were, and I kind of give a pass to the sports people because I never know who they are.
Right. Well, I think that's interesting.
No skaters or gymnasts either.
No. And again, I repeat, no one under the age of 25.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So, huge ratings news for the series finale of Downton Abbey, which aired on Sunday. Deadline reports that roughly 10 million people watched the finale on Sunday night. What's more, it was the most watched finale ever for PBS's most popular series.
Which is not surprising. It was the most popular series. And I have to say that, even people like me who went away from Downton Abbey just sort of got tired of Anna and Bates always being in misery and, some of the deaths. And, I left the show and I came back this season. I popped in and I missed a couple of episodes, but really easy to pick up at the end. And it was, they're not going to have like one of these Breaking Bad type endings where, morally ambiguous. It was just nice, happy endings for mostly everybody, including, thank God, Lady Edith.
I think I only watched 4 episodes of the first season, and that was after the fact as well, and I just never went back to it. Not that I disliked it, I just didn't. But one day I could binge watch that.
It was very well done. I think after the first season made you think that it was, a very stately kind of drama. You didn't realize that it was actually a soap, and then it got very soapy as you went on, and that's sort of when I took off. I think end of season 3.
Well, who doesn't love a good soap?
Yeah,
Vicky? All right. Also on Sunday, not as major as the Downton finale, but for us, uber major. Quantico returned. Yes. Our favorite show to hate. Wouldn't even say love to hate. We just hate it.
Oh, I went from loving it to sort of hating it back to loving it. I don't actually, after Sunday night's episode, yes, I'm actually indifferent.
Yeah, I could see that.
Which is bad.
So in this...
Although it did get renewed for a second season.
It did get renewed for a second season. So in this episode, this is after the second bombing. Untold number of FBI agents have died. I think
22, actually.
Oh, sorry.
I think they did tell it.
Okay, 22 FBI agents died. But here's the thing. I thought it was going to be some of the main characters.
No.
None of the main characters died.
No, of course not.
I felt that was a bait and switch. Because they were saying, it's going to be, devastating. I'm not devastated by people I don't know.
No, the only person I think who died was Caleb's dad, who was the, the guy from Lost.
The Flanderer.
Name. Yes. Who was having sex with Shelby.
With Shelby, right. This show. So, okay, wait. Can we talk about, let's get to the most important part. So, Alex is testifying in front of some committee, and her hair is, feathered and looks like she has a fresh cut. Do you think that when Alex wakes up, she either A, goes to the hair salon, B, has someone come to her house to do it? Or C, she just wakes up like that, sort of Beyonce flawless?
She probably wakes up like that. Although, when she was in her gross, disgusting apartment that was all messy and I can't remember his name, her ex-boyfriend comes to see her.
The hot guy.
She did look kind of disheveled.
Kind of, but
which is still like 1,000 times better than I look on my best day.
Than the average person. Absolutely. She looks good. So, in this episode, Alex is convinced that there's someone else who's part of the conspiracy and who helped with the bombing, whereas everyone else in the FBI is saying, no, it was only
Elias, lone gunman.
Yeah. It was only him. He's dead now. There's no harm.
He fell out. He threw himself out of the window.
He threw himself out of the window in New York City, where windows don't open.
Yes, and if they do, there are always bars there.
Absolutely. For you people who've never been to New York. And so Alex is saying, no, there has to be another person. There has to be another person. And I think the American people feel the same way. So she feels like she's on the side of the American people, and that the FBI...
All of them have her phone number on speed dial.
Oh my God. Sorry. No, but that was after.
It was. I'm sorry. I'm just getting ahead of myself.
She changed her tune because Ryan came to talk to her, and basically... Ryan, that's his name.
Ryan.
And basically said, Alex, you have to give this up. There's no other person. You have to do it. And then she does this.
To my friends and family, my fellow agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and my fellow New Yorkers who've suffered these unspeakable tragedies. I know how painful these past few months have been for all of us, and I know many of you in this room blame me for what you see as prolonging your suffering. You say I've divided a city because I don't accept your explanation, which is why we can't move on from those 2 fateful days in July. But I won't apologize for that. I can't.
So dramatic.
The search for truth isn't easy. And when I joined the Bureau, I took an oath to support and defend our country. Which is why I'm reversing my position today. I've no evidence that contradicts the Bureau's findings that Elias Harper acted alone. It's time for all of us to move on.
Okay, so she does this, which is what everyone asked her to do, and then all of a sudden everyone turns on her because they're like, that was disingenuous, you didn't really believe it, and it's like, well, duh.
It's like the people who are like, that's not really, what's the thing they say when they're apologizing? If I offended you?
Yes.
That was kind of like that sort of turnaround.
Yes. So then after that, everyone in America starts calling Alex's phone.
Yes.
Which is like, how did they even get her number?
Yes, and she picks up a couple times and ignores it, and then picks up when it happens to be some...
like, masked voice
who says, go to this certain place where we discover, God help me, what is her name with the bomb?
Annoying, girlfriend of Ryan, who, by the way, and this
is now friends with her.
This makes me an evil person, but when I saw, spoiler alert, that she had a bomb strapped to her chest, I was like, thank God. This lady is going to die because she is one of the driest characters on the show, and I still don't understand the whole conversation about her scar.
Thank you. Thank you.
And why people keep bringing it up, and I'm like, I don't understand it in the first place, so we can stop talking about it. Just keep moving on. So yeah, I was really thrilled to see that she had a bomb strapped to her chest, and then I guess next week someone will die. Whether it's her, we don't know.
Or probably somebody, one of the new Nats.
The new Nats. Oh, yes.
Who are actually the old Nats.
We can't forget that this week they introduced a bunch of new characters. They are Nats who are a couple months ahead
1 month ahead of them.
1 month ahead
they apparently had no idea existed on the same campus.
Right. How large is Quantico?
I don't know. And if they have new groups coming in every month, I don't get it.
It doesn't seem like
it doesn't seem very believable to me.
Really? This show is not believable.
This show is not believable to me.
I cannot believe that. So wait, I have a new theory as to who the bomber is.
Oh my God.
You ready?
Okay.
The bomber is a woman, because I could tell by the voice distortion machine. And I believe she is Marcia Cross.
Well, that wouldn't be surprising, knowing Marcia Cross's history as an evil psychopath. Kimberly Shaw, Melrose Place.
This is true, but she wasn't evil on Desperate Housewives.
Okay.
She was a little anal retentive. But Marcia Cross is the one that plays
Caleb's mother, who's running for vice president?
Right. Or is she running for president? Vice president.
I think vice president.
Yeah, I definitely think she is the mastermind behind this entire thing.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because no offense to Quantico creators and writers, but you're not that clever. And usually when a really famous face shows up, sort of out of nowhere, they are the killer. That's how I get through episodes of Law & Order SVU, which I've started watching again, by the way.
And Priyanka Chopra, in our little conversation we had in January, says we're definitely going to find out who the other person was by the end of the season.
And it's Marsha Cross. So. FYI, put that in the books. Producer Alyssa, write it down. Final answer.
Okay.
All right.
So that means we don't discuss this every week now?
No.
Until the finale.
Unless something ridiculous happens. Speaking of shows that are coming up
Something ridiculous happens? I'm sorry.
Yeah. On Quantico? Yes. Every week.
No. What are we discussing next?
No, we're not discussing that next. I want to just quickly. Speaking of finales coming up, Vicki ruined my great intro.
Sorry.
How to Get Away with Murder only has 2 episodes left. Ugh. Until the one episode until the season finale. I forgot that it was a short season show, and they actually continued that for season 2. So I said I would give you an update when we find out more. I think this week we will find out what happened to Annalise's baby, because she was pregnant.
She was pregnant
10 years ago, and she doesn't have any children, so something happened.
Okay, but it's not Wesley.
It's not Wesley, and we also found out last week that his mother did commit suicide, because for about, 40 minutes, they tried to convince you that Wes killed her when he was like
the 12-year-old Wes. Okay.
Yes, with a knife to the neck. Ugh. Which, by the way, people, if you're going to commit suicide, a knife to the neck seems like a rough way to go.
Yeah.
But Annalise was there when the mom committed suicide.
How did she die?
She stuck a knife in her neck.
Oh, but it wasn't Wes doing it.
No, Wes just found the body. Wes found the body. And that's really it. I can't really think of anything else that happened that was that interesting.
I'll read a couple of recaps and I guess watch the finale.
And you'll be caught up.
Yeah.
And then we'll discuss. All right. But a show that has lots of twists and turns, and Vicki and I sort of disagree on.
I think, unless you changed your mind since the first episode, I think we violently disagree on.
Well, I'm not going to smack you, but The Family. Premiered on ABC last week. It's already aired 2 episodes. It premiered on Thursday. Oh, gosh. That's Vicki. That's not me.
Awful.
Premiered in place of Scandal, so between Grey's and How to Get Away with Murder, and then it had its 2nd episode on Sunday. It is a show by Jenna Bans, who comes from Shondaland.
Yes, she had Off the Map, starring one of Meryl Streep's daughters.
Mamie.
Okay.
Gummer. Also starring Zach Gilford, who is on The Family.
Did you watch Off the Map?
I think I watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes. I'll watch anything that Zach Gilford is in, because he will always be Matt Saracen in my heart from Friday Night Lights.
Okay.
I love him. Call me. So, so it comes from the Shondaland family. It's about a family who 10 years ago, their youngest son, who was 9 at the time, was...
8.
No, they said 9.
They said 8.
Okay, fine. 8 at the time, was kidnapped or murdered or something. He went
missing.
Kidnapped
and then murdered, they believe.
He went missing. 10 years later, a kid shows up at the local police precinct and says, "I'm Adam Ross. I'm the kid that was captured."
Adam Warner,
whatever.
Warner.
I'm not good with
Maybe
names.
I should be doing the recap.
No, I got it. And he shows up and he says, "This is me." And in the meantime, since then, a man, their neighbor, had been convicted of his kidnapping and murder and was spending all this time in jail. And the family had sort of moved on. The mom became a city council person, and then the mayor. The daughter, the sister, who is one of the people who's supposed to be watching him, is now the mom's right-hand woman. And the brother, played by Zach Gilford, is now drunk because he was also supposed to be watching him. And the father, we come to find out, was sleeping with the head police officer in charge of the investigation. So those are all the main characters on the show.
But only after she started investigating.
Yes, only after.
Which makes it fine.
By the way, what's the name of the guy who plays the father?
Rupert Graves from Sherlock.
Rupert Graves.
English.
Is a 52-year-old hottie. Can we just talk about this real quick?
Okay.
So The Family is one of those shows where I'm like, how is it possible that Alison Pill is the daughter of this guy when they look like they're in the same age group?
Actually, when I was watching the 2nd episode, I was looking at Alison and Alison Pill and the great Joan Allen, who plays the mother, and except for the eyes, I kind of see it.
They look like a family.
Yeah, they look like a family.
But the ages on the show are pretty legit. Joan Allen is in her 60s. The father is 52. 32. I thought he was going to be like 40-something. Allison Pill's 30. She's playing like a 23-year-old. And Zach Gilford is 32. Of course, I had to look all this up. It's fascinating to me. But anyway, the father's a hottie. And so that's where we are in the first episode. That sort of sets the whole thing up. But the mystery, I guess, is whether or not Adam is actually Adam.
And, of course, finding out who actually kidnapped this kid, regardless of who he is. Because they have to reopen the case, obviously.
They do. So Vicki has major issues with this show. Tell me about them, Vicki.
Okay. So I kind of feel like they have American Crime and a Shondaland show, and they're kind of trying to split the difference here. So it's soapy and it's like soapy and melodramatic, but it's about a child, regardless of whether it was him or not, who presumably spent 10 years in a bunker being raped. They say raped and beaten, and like his back shows all these scars for 10 years. And so this is like a serious case, and I just really feel like they are, so it's about like, it's supposed to be about the trauma this kid has gone through, the trauma the family has gone through, getting past it, moving through it. And I think it does a disservice to like trauma victims everywhere by how like they take him home and everybody just acts like he's supposed to be fine now, and they take him out to the mall the next day to go shopping. And there is a lack of, it's supposed to be a little bit realistic, but there is a lack of understanding of how the criminal justice system works, the media works, how politics works, how trauma works, which really upsets me.
So, okay, a couple points here. I agree with you on some points. I disagree with you on others. I do think that the show does not know what it is. When I watch it, I think, is this a thriller? Is this a family drama? Is this a soap? I'm just a little confused about what we're supposed to believe. Like, is it a mystery show? So it doesn't specify. Like, you just don't know what it identifies as. It has multiple personality disorder. However, I disagree with you on the part about the show supposed to be about the show being about the aftermath of such a trauma. I don't think that's what the show is about. I think you are taking it too seriously. I think they are not taking.
But I think they should. I think they should be taking it more seriously.
But I don't think
it's a horrible event.
I know, but I don't think that's what their intention is. I don't think that's what they.
Then they shouldn't be focusing on a kid who was in a bunker being raped for 10 years.
Allegedly, because I think that's the problem that the show has, is that it is a mystery as to whether or not this is that kid, whether or not those things actually happen to, like, we don't know.
Can I spoiler alert something?
Yeah.
Okay, I was at TCA.
Okay.
I was at the Television Critics Association conference.
Yeah.
I was at this panel.
Wait, am I going to be upset? I want to watch this show. Go ahead, I'm not listening.
I'm just going to say, I don't really think that whether it's him or not is going to be a plot point that lasts for a long time.
Whether you don't think it will.
I don't. From what they said, it's not going to be something that you're going to be wondering about through the entire season. So I think that's going to get solved pretty quickly.
Yeah, but you don't. But do you know which way it's going to go?
I don't want to ruin it for you.
Oh, so you're telling me that it is him?
I'm not saying that.
Well, that's what you're saying. You're the worst spoiler alert person ever. But I understand what you're saying, and I disagree with you that when people experience a trauma and they go back to their families or people in their lives who did not experience that trauma, I think that the family tries to make things as normal as possible because they think that's what the person needs. So in the second episode...
So she's going to announce her run for governor
well,
a day after her son returns.
Well, that's different because, first of all, these are not real people. But secondly, I think that's a setup for wherever we're going with the kid. And clearly the way that she got to her current position as mayor was using the trauma of losing her son, exactly, to become city council person and then to become mayor.
I mean, but there are so many lines in there that when you think about them, even for like 2 seconds, you're like, that is ridiculous, but not in a kind of fun, funny, salacious way, but just really kind of gross. Like, the brother is talking to Adam about, like, I can't remember what it was, like, he doesn't know, like, something happened. He's like, well, you have a good excuse. Yeah, right. His excuse that he was being held in a bunker and raped for 10 years. Andrew McCarthy, who plays hold on. Andrew McCarthy, who plays the neighbor, who is still living next to them because he immediately was let out of prison and immediately got a $300,000 check made out to him that arrived in the mail, like, again, 2 days later. So he's living next door to this family that basically had him convicted of killing his son. He sees the son for the first time and he's like, remember me? I'm the guy that killed you. I mean, what the hell is that?
Well, let's be clear. See, you're leaving out important factors here. Number one, the brother does not believe it's his brother. Zach Gilford does not believe that's his brother. So
even so, he's dealing with a child who is like, it's still
he's
a child.
Not a child.
Okay, he's 18 years old. Okay, and he has clearly
19,
gone through
yes.
a lot in his life.
Yes.
It's still not something you could be flippant about.
You do know the difference between a documentary
I do.
and a TV show.
I do, but it's like when you watch something like, and I said I don't really watch it very often, but like SVU or whatever, where you deal with the trauma things, it's like you don't have all this sort of like gross, soapy, personal stuff like the father. How about this? The father and the police detective deciding to like have sex.
Yeah.
In the interrogation room, on top of the investigative file. Gross. Absolutely gross.
Yeah.
And not, again, I think it was supposed to be salacious, but it was just gross. That's my reaction to it. It's just gross.
I don't know. Look, it's a Shondaland show. And the Shondaland...
Is it a Shondaland show?
Sorry, I take that back. It's not a Shondaland show, but it is a show created by someone who sort of honed her skills in Shondaland. Yes. So, and Shondaland is always over the top. Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, crazy-ish happens that is just unbelievable.
But there's a tone in those that does not that is not here because it's still trying to do something else. You said it yourself. You say it doesn't know what it wants to be.
It doesn't know what it wants to be.
It's not embracing the
But I know what it doesn't want to be. It doesn't want to be a serious drama. Well, I know it doesn't want to be American Crime. I know
it doesn't want to be American Crime, but I'm saying that there are certainly indications that it is. There are indications that they're pretending to be at points a serious drama. And then there are. How about Bridie Cruz? Can we discuss Bridie Cruz for a second? She is the lesbian lifestyle blogger turned ace investigative reporter for the thriving small town daily newspaper who wears minuscule shorts in the office. I'm sorry. When I first saw her, I was like, is she wearing pants?
That sounds like a personal issue.
I'm sorry.
That sounds like.
Can we just?
Problem.
Yeah, we could. Just,
she has no ethics.
No ethics whatsoever.
Since she slept
I'll get
with
to the bottom to that. I'll sleep with the brother.
Yeah, she slept with Zach Gilford in the bathroom. But I will say, in terms of dealing with Adam coming home and the trauma of his 10 years in captivity, I think they made some really poignant points, like when he said he wanted to sleep in the closet because he needed to feel the walls, and the mom didn't know how to deal with that at all.
Which is I think, the point where
and
they're
she
talking
locked
about
the closet where, she was trying to fix the problem. She wants her son to be normal, and the dad's like, well, we gotta kind of let him sleep in the closet.
Those are examples of them trying to take this seriously. It is. You just said it.
I don't think it's them trying to take it seriously. I don't think the show as a whole takes itself seriously. You know what? You would have less problems with this show had you watched Secrets and Lies last season. The whole series revolved around a little kid being drowned in the woods. And there were a bunch of shady things that happened on that show that you would be used to had you watched. Yeah. But you didn't. I did.
I didn't, but I lived it through you.
You did live it through me, so you should know better. Well, look, Vicki and I are divided on the family, and I can tell she's not going to watch it anymore.
No, I'm not going to watch it anymore.
But I will, because that's what I'm here for. And I will keep you guys abreast of developments, although Vicki has already spoiled it for us that it is Adam. Thanks, Vicki.
I didn't. I absolutely did not.
You did. Things that we can't spoil, but we are very excited about. Is we had a celebrity interview this week.
Yes, we did,
with the one and only Shavar Ross, aka Dudley on Diff'rent Strokes, aka Weasel on Family Matters.
I didn't know that,
which Vicki didn't know. Last week we talked about very special episodes. We talked about a lot of 80s shows and the recent episode of Blackish, and one of the episodes that we focused on from the 80s was the Bicycle Man two-parter on A Diff'rent Strokes. So that got Vicki and I thinking, where is Dudley? What has he been up to?
That was an iconic performance.
It really was. That lasted and stayed with us through all these years.
Scarred us, quite frankly.
Kind of. So we're going to try to do this on the podcast, get in touch with some of our favorite stars of TV shows past. If you have any recommendations for us, tweet us at TV Hangover Show or email us, tvhangovershow@njadvancedmedia.com.
It's surprisingly easy, as it turns out. If you had told me when I was watching that show at 10 years old that one day you could type something into a computer and then an hour later Dudley would get back to you, I'd be like, no,
It's the power of Twitter, people.
It's
the
amazing.
Power of Twitter. So here's our interview with Shavar Ross from A Diff'rent Strokes. He talks about many, many things, including the Bicycle Man episode.
So how did you get into acting in the first place?
I basically came to California just to visit my dad. You know, I wanted to know who my father was. My mom sent me to California. And during my school Christmas vacation, I was discovered by an agent, actually at a Kim Fields play. I was just so googly out of Kim Fields when I was like 8 years old, and my dad took me, and I just got discovered on the way out. An agent saw me and said to my dad, you know, hey, I want to, need to get this kid in pictures. I didn't have any aspirations to be an actor, so that's how my career pretty much got started.
Shavar, I am a Real Housewives connoisseur, and Vicki is our resident Real Housewives
of New
recapper.
Jersey.
Kim Fields is on Real Housewives of Atlanta. Do you still have that?
I know. I started watching because I saw Kim. I was like, oh, I'm going to start watching now.
Oh, I love it. So what do you think of Kim on the show? Because it's very different for an actor to be on a reality show. You know, they're not playing a character. They are themselves.
Well, supposedly.
Well, yes.
Yeah, Kim seems to be kind of playing herself from what I'm seeing. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing with all the other girls, Portia and some of the other ones are not taking it too kindly because, she's not all about the glam and she's just a housewife.
So, as I mentioned before, we were talking about very special episodes, and I was really curious as to when they decided to do this episode about child molestation. Did they prepare you in any way? Did they discuss what was going to be happening in the episode?
Nothing. Just it wasn't. I don't remember them sitting me down or anything like that. I know it's a very serious episode. It really was just another show to me. It did essentially allow for children. I remember going to a lot of different events because of the show. Because the whole show, that I believe it was of course a 2-part episode, and there wasn't any but in the audience. They shot everything without an audience, so it was really serious. I guess they put the laugh track in. It was still people laughing during.
I know
that was
kind
of funny.
Yes, that's funny because we talked about that last week, and I said how awkward it sounded to have children laughing in the background during some of the scenes, and I guess there weren't actually children on set besides you guys.
Yeah, I mean,
there was no studio audience that during that episode.
Have you watched it since then? I mean, it's a pretty iconic episode, and I was wondering how you feel about it, looking at it as a parent and as an adult, as opposed to when you filmed it.
Well, they don't cover stuff like that now. Back then, it was really serious to talk about it, And I, had a talk with my daughter. She just turned 11. About this, the episode, and we were watching some of the scenes on YouTube, and we kind of had to talk about the importance of, letting your parents know and things like that. But, actually, right around that time, maybe a couple of years afterwards, I had an adopted brother who darn near came close to sexually molesting me when I was about 13 or 14. So this was very scary. So all of those the scenes and everything from the show came up then. When I was shooting it, it was just another show to me. But when it actually happened to me, that's when it actually became serious for me. I was like, wow.
And you were able
really
to
real.
recognize it because of what you remembered from the show?
Well, I knew, I had, it was this gentleman who he was just like my brother, he was a little bit taller than me, but he was older than me by, 10 or 15 years, and somehow he was kind of like my guardian, my dad, and my stepmom at the time. They didn't know anything about him, being a pedophile, which he was. He was my stand-in in a film that I did called Five. So he was like my big brother, but I found this man late at night. We slept in the same room, separate beds, touching me in my private area. And I would literally just jump up at night and say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Can you stop? And I didn't really realize at the time that, this man was literally in love with me. And he would say, blah, blah, blah. And I was 13, so I couldn't differentiate between him being my big brother who loves me and a pedophile at the time. So all I knew was that what he was doing was wrong. And it wasn't until after he kept doing it that I had to tell my father, and when I did that, he was gone. And but it always affects me even to this day, child molestation is a very, very serious, psychological issue. There's a lot of stress on a child to go through that, and it carries over into their adult life to the point to where even sometimes to this day, I will still jump up out of my sleep because of this gentleman. And because every time he would touch me was when I was asleep. Mm-hmm. And then you would think, 35 years or however long it's been like 30 years maybe, or somewhere around there, that it wouldn't still affect me. But it does, and now this gentleman is he's in jail.
Oh.
For doing the same thing to these children throughout the years. And I looked him up a couple of years ago, and I saw he was in jail, his name. Mm-hmm. Had a picture of him and everything. I said, wow, this is very serious. But during the time of the shooting, the episode, it wasn't a big movie, it was just another show. But you know what? Maybe that was kind of like a blessing in disguise for me. Mm-hmm. Because some kids don't necessarily recognize child molestation right away.
But the other episode that I was thinking about, because you posted a photo of you with Nancy Reagan, was the Don't Do Drugs episode. Can you tell me a little bit about taping of that episode with Nancy Reagan?
Sure, yes. And I wanted to say before I get to this particular episode, I knew the very special episode was very serious when I saw on Family Guy. They had Gary Coleman and I in the bicycle shoot.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, it's iconic.
Kind of jokingly talking about it, I was like, wow, you just had me and, you would think it would be Gary and Todd or something, but they had that episode and two little cartoon kids. I thought that was...
I hope they sent you a check for that.
Yeah, but then, Mrs. Reagan was such a beautiful, spirited woman, kind-hearted woman, and it was just everyone. It was I just remember Secret Service men all over the place. Of course, I don't remember if they had a live studio audience. I actually think they did that during that episode, but I know there was a lot of Secret Service, and it was a really, really big deal. And my father actually was just, he got to meet Mrs. Reagan and started a Children Against Drugs Foundation right after that time.
So Shavar, tell us what you're up to now. What you're doing now that you're sort of not as much in the industry as you were in the past.
Well, I directed my first film several years ago. So I wasn't acting any longer at the time, but I ended up directing and writing my own films. I started off with 2 short films, and then I had my first feature film, which I wrote, produced, directed, edited. Had a great cast. Matter of fact, one of the regulars from Good Times, Johnny Brown, who played Bookman, was in it. Al Jarreau. We had a great cast. It was a romantic comedy called Lord Help Us. I was directing for a while, and our film is in Walmart and Target and different places, and it was a very, very good experience for me. A lot of rough, cutthroat stuff, when it comes to distribution. So now, I decided to kind of start my own distribution company. It kind of started by accident. So I'm not necessarily doing films per se, but just producing a lot of retail content for online distribution right now and retail.
All right, and if you want to follow Shavar, he is on Twitter. It is at Shavar, Shavar. Thank you, producer Alyssa. So that's going to do it for this week's show. As we said, we're going to try to get some more of our favorite TV actors from days gone by on the show. So if you have any recommendations, at TV Hangover Show on Twitter, TV Hangover Show at NJ.com if you want to send an email. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, review on iTunes and Stitcher and TuneIn and Spreaker and everywhere else podcasts can be listened to. Until next week.